Welcome to Art Beats. This is Susan from the Community Library of Allegheny Valley, and today we will discover the art of Alexander Calder. American artist Alexander Calder, known as Sandy to his friends, was born on July 22, 1898, in Lawton, Pennsylvania, into a family of artists. After graduating high school, he attended the Stevens Institute of Technology, receiving his degree in mechanical engineering in 1919. He later enrolled in the Art Students League in New York to study and produce art. In 1926, Calder moved to Paris, where he began to build toys that moved. Eventually, his collection of toys became a miniature circus called Cirque Calder, which he performed in the USA and Europe. Alexander Calder was the originator of the mobile. By suspending forms that move with the flow of air, Calder revolutionized sculpture. In September 1943, when he was just 45 years old, he was the youngest artist ever to receive a retrospective of his work at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. In addition to his abstract mobiles, Calder also created static sculptures called stabiles, as well as paintings, jewelry, theater sets, and costumes. Calder died November 11, 1976 in New York. Known as the man who made sculpture move, Alexander Calder was one of the most influential and pioneering figures of modern art in the 20th century. What are mobiles? A mobile is an abstract sculpture made chiefly out of sheet metal, steel rods, wire, and wood. Some or all of these elements move, propelled by electric motors, wind, water, or by hand. Definition by Alexander Calder. Generally, mobile is a type of moving sculpture made with a balanced assemblage of parts that hang or move freely in response to touch or air currents. Calder's mobiles are both balanced visually with shape and color, as well as balanced literally with weight and counterpoise. What is kinetic art? Kinetic art is art that can move or has moving parts. It depends on motion for its effects. Kinetic art became a major phenomenon in the late 1950s and the 1960s. Let's learn about drawing in space. In Paris during the late 1920s, Alexander Calder arrived at his revolutionary notion of drawing in space, a concept that remained central to his work throughout his career. Many artists made contour line drawings on paper, but Calder was the first to use wire to create three-dimensional line drawings of people, animals, and objects. Calder always carried wire and pliers with him so that he could sketch in his favorite material. This has become to be known as drawing in space because he would literally use the wire to create a drawing in the air. He is quoted as saying, "I think best in wire." Calder's wire portrait heads were made from 1928 to about 1932, and they serve as a visual record of those he knew. This coloring page, showing Calder's wire portraits, can be found at artsology.com. Sandy Circus by Tanya Lee Stone. This picture book tells the story of Calder's youth, how he came to enjoy wire sculpture, become an artist, and create his own miniature moving circus. On the right is an equestrian act from Cirque Calder, made using wire, cloth, wood, cardboard, paint, rhinestones, and thread, from the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York. Here we have 4 examples of Alexander Calder art. Fish, 1944. Made from painted metal rod, wire, metal, plastic, wood, glass, and ceramic fragments. Measures 16 1/4 by 48 1/8 by 4 1/2 inches. Observe how the iridescent reflections of the fish scales express color and movement. On the right, we see the mobile's shadow. Calder's Self-Portrait, 1968. An example of Calder's drawing in space using wire. In the photograph on the right, we find Alexander Calder with Edgar Varese and Untitled, two wire portraits, in France, 1963. Mixomatose, 1953, made of sheet metal, wire, and paint. This standing mobile measures 101 by 161 inches. The photograph on the right is Calder with Mixomatose in Paris, 1954. Point 125, 1957. On the left, Alexander Calder holds a model version of a mobile to be hung in the arrivals building of Idlewood International Airport, New York, 1957. On the right, we see Calder reviewing the installation of the 45 feet long mobile at what is now John F. Kennedy International Airport, New York, named after the gauge of its aluminum elements. Our at-home art activity, inspired by Alexander Calder, is a wirefish mobile art project. Materials you will need: thin wire coat hanger, 14 gauge sculpture wire, or flexible plastic coated wire, string, thread, yarn, pipe cleaners, thin ribbon or floral wire, pieces of plastic straws, assorted beads, sequins, buttons, shells with holes, cardstock or craft foam shapes, pasta shapes, etc. Scissors, glue if using cardstock or craft foam shapes. Optional, wire cutters, needle nose pliers. Getting started. First, make the outline of your fish. Take the looped end of your hanger in one hand and bottom side in the other, and gently pull in opposite directions until the wire stretches and you will see a diamond-shaped fish appear. The wire loop can go at the top to hang or in the back for a tail. If you're using wire, cut off a piece and bend it into a fish shape. Trim with wire cutter as needed. Second, take a piece of string, thread, yarn, pipe cleaner, thin ribbon, or floral wire and tie one end to the bottom side of the fish, not to hold it in place. If using a pipe cleaner or wire, twist one end onto the bottom side. Third, add pieces of cut up plastic straws, assorted beads, sequins, buttons, shells with holes, pasta shapes, etc. onto the string or pipe cleaner. When done, tie to the top side of the fish. Fourth, repeat steps 2 and 3 to add as many as you want. Alternately, 2 cardstock or foam shapes can be glued together, keeping the string in between. Remember to add a fish eye. Fifth, when finished, attach a piece of string, thread, or yarn to hang your fish mobile. Be sure to show off your artwork. Whether you use a hanger or wire to make your fish shape, I hope you have fun decorating it. The incredible innovations of Alexander Calder's art is truly amazing. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.